Welcome to this video on dependent events. If you haven't watched the previous video on independent events, I strongly suggest that you do. Suppose there are 3 white and 3 green balls in a bowl, and we randomly pick one ball. Now, what are the chances of picking a white ball at random? So this equals the number of white balls, which is 3, divided by the total number of balls, which is 6. So the probability turns out to be 1/2. Now suppose after picking a ball, we do not replace it back in the bowl. Now, what is the probability of picking another white ball given that the first that we picked was also white and it wasn't replaced? So this situation warrants some extra notation. So we write that as probability of white given a white was chosen earlier on. This vertical bar between the two whites means given that. Since the remaining white balls are now 2 and the total remaining balls are 5, as you can count yourself, then the probability of picking a second white, given that the first was also white, is now 2/5. Note, this probability is no longer the same as the probability of picking white the first time. Now, when that happens, we say that the second event depends on the previous one. Now we want to find the probability of 2 whites in a row. Now recall from the last video on independent events that probability of one event after another equals the product of their respective probabilities. So think, what are the events? The first event is picking a white ball. The second event is picking a white given that the previous one was also white. So we write it out just like that. And it turns out to be 1/5. Do you recall this probability when the 2 events were independent? Well, you can go back to the video and see that, well, it was 1/4. So now the probability has decreased. It's no longer 1/4, it has come down to 1/5. Does it make sense? It should. If you remove a white ball, then the chances of picking another white the second time around automatically decrease. Hence, it makes sense. So remember this, when probability of a follow-up event E2 depends upon a previous event E1, the second depends upon the first. The probability of E1 and then E2 equals the independent probability of E1 times the probability of E2 given E1 has occurred. So you can pause the video if you want and stare at this formula just to memorize it properly. Now suppose a bag contains 5 white balls, 3 black balls, and 2 green balls. A ball is chosen from the bowl at random and is not replaced back in the bag. In 3 draws, find the probability of obtaining a white, a black, and a green ball in that specific order. So first we pick white. Its probability equals count of white balls divided by total balls. So that is 5/10 or 1/2. Now next we work out the probability of picking a black. But before that, count the number of black balls and the total balls left. That's because we don't put the white ball back. Pause and think. So the probability of picking a black next time round equals the black balls over the total number of balls left. So the black balls equals 3, whereas the total number of balls left equals 9, and hence the probability is 1/3. Note, we can also call this probability of picking a probability of picking a black given that a white was picked already. Now note that the total balls left is now 8 because we are not replacing anything back into the bag. So the probability of picking a green now equals 2 over 8 because there are still 2 green balls left while the total balls are now reduced to 8. So this equals to 1/4 and can be called probability of picking a green given black and white were chosen earlier. So finally, the probability of seeing an event collectively where white, black, and then green were chosen without replacement can be obtained by multiplying these probabilities. So, which equals 1/2 times 1/3 times 1/4. And this turns out to be 1/24. Here's another example problem for you. Read the statement and work it out yourself. And once done, watch the solution in the next slide. So here's the solution. You can pause and verify if you got the same solution. Leave the comments below if you have any, and see you in the next video. Thank you.